All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Free Thinkers podcast. This is episode number 33. We are joined today, obviously, by my co-host, the very thick and shirtless Steve.
I like that introduction.
Thank you. Dude, that's your introduction. And then we've also got joining us today, James Klug, which I thought it was Klug for the longest time, but then I watched the video today and you said James Klug. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Steve, you can push the shirts, and then we'll get started.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Love the podcast. It's definitely one of the funnier ones out there. Everyone, my name is James Klug, K-L-U-G. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, just K-L-U-G, James Klug. Basically debate people in the streets on various topics, do a lot of man-on-the-street videos, and kind of newer to the game, but you know, we're trying something a little bit different, have a different approach, a respectful approach to debate with complete strangers, and we're seeing where it goes. So, having a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I love your content. I'm gonna influence your sharing group with you. I always see your stuff in there. You're very active on social media, which is like, as a newcomer, is like the most important thing. A lot of people get in this and think, oh, I'm just gonna make good content. It's just gonna grow me, and it's like, it is more work than people understand. It is constant. You're really taking the right approach, so I think you're going to go far with this.
And you guys both have been, a lot of help.
Yeah.
Obviously, really.
Yeah, of course.
You guys stuff as well. So
I like to help people, and we're all, as long as you're not radically opposed to anything I believe in, then it's like we're all on the same team here, and let's just all grow. So, all right, guys, we have shirts, Free Thinkers merch. I don't really ever wear a shirt on the show, but that's because my Free Thinkers merch has not come in yet. I've made a promise to God that I'm only going to wear Free Thinkers merch going forward, because I used to have Trump shirts and you get beat up for those and stuff. That's not really cool. The best part about this Free Thinkers merch is you probably won't get beat up for it. You can wear a Free Thinkers hat, a shirt, and you're not going to get poured water on you like you're wearing a MAGA hat. And, if you want to wear a MAGA hat, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But this is a lot safer, in my opinion. We have the link below here on the YouTube video. They're selling like hotcakes. We're limited supply only, and once these designs go off the market in a few days here, they won't be back. We're going to start releasing new designs probably once a month. So get the ones we have now. We have the Free Thinkers of the Most Oppressed dad hat and shirt, my personal favorite, because it's just the truest statement in the world. Free Thinkers are the most oppressed class. And we also have the classic vintage Free Thinkers t-shirt and sweater. So,
and I will say, I was walking down the street. I didn't even wear it, but a girl. Oh my God, we already got a super chat, bro. Thank you guys. Maxwell, he's back, baby.
Woo,
we got
back.
The Free Thinking High Elder.
it's crushing it.
Maxwell back in the chat. Anyway, I will say, I was walking down the street and I was just looking at my phone, and I happened to have the shirts pulled up on my phone. And a girl came up behind me and was like, yo, just seeing that I'm on your screen, not even you wearing it, makes you way more attractive. So, the girls love it.
This is a true story. This is a true story.
It is.
Everything that helps us sell merch is true on the show, so that was definitely a true story.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. So you done setting up, Dylan?
I am absolutely done setting up.
Great. Then you can take the charge of what we're talking.
I did just get logged out of my YouTube channel, which is not very free thinking of YouTube.
Ooh. The censorship is real, guys. The censorship is real. We have an example.
So I want to talk to James Klug for a second. So you're doing the man on the street stuff, and like the average person watching this video, that is like the biggest thing right now, right? Like the man on the street stuff all over people's feed. So just kind of go over what makes you different, and your type of man on the street video is different than everybody else's. Like, why should people watch? Like, I watch your videos. I really like them. Like, I watched the one. We're going to talk about it today. God, dude. YouTube is insane. But, no, we watched it today, and we're going to talk about it on the show. You going around, thumbs up, Trump's not a racist. But what makes your videos different, just to people out there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not that I think that I've started any super new twist or anything like that to the conservative movement. I'm definitely, what I do have is just kind of a super small, different approach when it comes to debate on the street. So we'll go out, we'll have a sign or something like that. A lot of people could be like, oh, that's Louder Crowder, Well, we walk around, we have fun, we do all this stuff. But my approach is really finding ideological inconsistencies with people's arguments when we're going out there and we're talking to people, and I really keep in mind, because I have a lot of friends that are Democrats. I know a lot of people that are in the industry, they don't. I'm sure you guys have a handful of friends that are Democrats.
All my friends are free thinkers. I'm friends with only free thinkers.
I love that.
Yeah.
But this is the easiest people to be friends with, to be honest with you.
Easy, yes.
I really try to have a respectful approach when it comes to debate, when it comes to talking to people and getting a point across. I try not to be too aggressive. I try to almost be trying to make friends with them while we're talking.
Yeah.
And I think when you're watching it, you can kind of tell what I'm saying. It almost makes it a little bit refreshing. Debating can just be like, oh my God, like just, stop this video. Like, this is too much. It can be a little bit too much to watch. I try to make it, fun and enjoyable, especially with our editing that we do, and just make it kind of a refreshing way to watch,
So you're not doing the epic libtards wrecked? That's not your approach?
I'm not doing any of that. No. And that goes into what I'm saying about like people that are, you don't need to be a radical liberal to be watching my stuff. Like, you can just be center and people in the center can be turned off by stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, people don't. The epic libtard wrecked style that's kind of sweeping the conservative right now only works to hype up the base. Like, you're not actually bringing any new people into the base. And the thing is, like, the thing that the right doesn't understand is, like, the older you get, the more your politics changes. Like, it doesn't remain consistent because your lifestyle changes. Like, when you're young, your parents are paying for everything for you. It's just like an easy life. So you're like, oh, I don't understand anything. But the older you get, like, your lifestyle changes. You learn new things. You meet new people. You experience new cultures, and you grow. And the just logging on and the right only being pushing the epic libtard wrecked epic style is just not going to work down the road.
I will admit I have promoted my page in ways that are a little bit clickbaity sometimes, but nothing that we put up officially.
Well, and that's fine because a lot of people, as someone that I own a media company, a little different than what other people do. And shit.
And the bass, dude. You Mike Huckabee now, dude.
I need more bass. Yeah. So, here at the Scoop, we have tried often to do more positive, wholesome news because everything's just so divided and angry now. And everyone always blames the media. Oh, the media is dividing this country. The media is so negative. Why isn't the media more positive? And I was like, okay, I'll take some responsibility on myself. Let me try doing positive news and change the culture. Well, we track the data of every post we do, like likes, comments, shares, views, everything on every platform, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, Instagram. And it's unanimous that every time we do a wholesome, positive video, it flops.
I know.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. Well,
it's like everyone blames the media for it, but it's like people want triggering, aggressive, violent content, and it's like that's what people want to consume. So the media is kind of forced to give them for the views what they want to see. So it's kind of hard. Like what you're doing, I really respect it because if this works out for you and you grow and grow and grow, what you're doing is very hard because people's natural inclination is to want to see the wrecks.
I think it's different. I think it's different to what James is doing because James, like I watched James' video and I was like, look at this wholesome guy out there, and he's just like, hey, thumbs up for Trump, nice, whatever. Like, it's super good stuff. But then, like, if you're on the news and every other news station, like the age-old thing in media is if it bleeds, it reads. Like that's like the saying in news. And if you're trying to be wholesome on the news, like, you can't. Like, people are just turned off by that. They want to know, like, the down and like when I'm on YouTube, if I'm really interested in something, 90% of the time it's like prison escapee details. Like, that's what I want to know. Right. Like, I'm not looking up nice, wholesome stories. Like, I'm looking up the brutal...
Jeffrey Epstein's conspiracy theories.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein's broken neck. Where were the bones located?
Broken bones. Yeah. It's all the clicks. I do think, though, when it comes to this stuff, I mean, it's very clear that this is what gets the clicks, right? But I'd certainly try to, release a video that has nothing to do with triggered leftists or anything like that. And yeah, it might kind of not do as well as the other ones, and it's pretty obvious that they don't. But I think that if we can remain somewhat close to even like 60% triggered and 40% or 30% just positive stuff, I think it's kind of refreshing just for everybody. I mean, even for me personally, I don't feel bad about it a little bit. Yeah. It makes sense.
I agree. It's almost, we look at the data and like the data shows, okay, these don't perform as well, but it's almost like my co-founder Cameron and I, we still do them pretty often because it's almost a peace of mind for us. Like, hey, we're doing something good for the community. We're providing quality, wholesome content, not all the time, but often enough to make a difference. And like, if it doesn't perform well, I can't do it every time, but I'll do enough that like I did my part and like the rest is up to everybody else. So You feel good about yourself. You'll sleep well at night, and you wreck the libtards the next day. So,
I'll live again to wreck the libtards. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like it depends what your approach of why you're doing what you're doing is. Because if you're someone like Ben Shapiro, and again, this isn't a diss at him. He's a businessman. He owns a media company. He wants to make more money. And the way the algorithms work on the social media platforms, if you get more engagement, they go higher in the feed, and he'll get more engagement for aggressive content like wrecking the libtards. Well, that benefits his money. He makes more money from that, and he grows in popularity, and that's fine. He has the right to do that. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But the thing that's interesting about politics, and I want to ask you a question about this, is, most people say they want to pursue a job or a career because it's what they appreciate. They want to make a difference in the world, but when push comes to shove, you need to pay the bills, and you want to do something that pays enough money that you're happy doing it. And then if it provides a different value to you, then that's kind of bonus than just paying the bills. But it seems like in this whole social media politics news landscape, the followers kind of project onto you that you need to be doing this solely for the good of some movement.
Well, that's starting now.
You need to make money is somehow secondary. And it's like, well, if I can't make any money, I'm not going to do the content in the first place. So I need to be able to pay the bills. So it's kind of hard to balancing the good of the movement with the good of your own personal benefit. So how do you ever approach that in your mind? Like, what do I do to make money on this, or just do it for the movement at all? Do you ever think about that stuff?
Well, I'm certainly not one of the people that believes that they need to just be donating all their time for free. I mean, we all know this is an insane amount of work. I mean, the last video that I did, that's probably 20, maybe 25 hours of work. I mean, it's not, or maybe 20 hours of work. I mean, it's not easy. And I think a lot of people just kind of think it is. I mean, we could even go to Instagram pages that do ads. You'll see people that comment, "Oh, selling out."
Yeah, selling out. It's like, and I always comment on that, not only to defend my own business, but I'll see someone, whether it's Dylan or DC Drain or whatever, they'll post an ad and just gets rated by comments. And I'll go on there and be like, when you watch television and there's a commercial, do you yell at the television company for having commercials on their channel? It's the same thing. It's just the modern way. It's so weird because, and then particularly with right-leaning people, as our audience is mostly right-wing, they're attacking capitalism pretty much. And it's like, what? It's very weird. I can't figure it out. No one's explained it to me of why are they doing this. Like, guys, you're not paying for the content. Like,
I'll tell you what.
It's absolutely free content. I spend 60 hours a week on my phone because I'm just looking for, or doing stuff on my phone, tweeting, keeping up with the news. You have to be able to make money, or you're not going to be able to get the content because I'm going to have to spend my time doing other stuff. But the whole idea that, I mean, you're always going to have the people that are pissed about ads. That's never going to change. I mean, I listen to the radio and I'm pissed about ads. Who listens to the radio? Fucking boomer hours. But
right.
Dude, nobody. How are they even still in business? But it's the boomers. It's definitely the boomers. But
it's the boomers.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, but the people are pissed. But this whole idea that you have to do it for the MAGA Trump movement, that's literally new. I remember back when I first started, it wasn't like that at all. Everybody had their own fresh opinion. They all supported their own candidate. Before then they were like, "Oh, I'm Cruz, I'm Trump." It was a healthy discussion. Now it's so unhealthy and toxic because everybody worships Trump like he's God. And it's disgusting, especially with these red flag laws that are going around. Trump's calling for red flag laws, being a total leftist. And everybody is coming out "Oh, I think we should listen." I literally
and you would never, if it was Obama doing that, this guy is a tyrant. He wants to destroy the Second Amendment. Now Trump does it. Well, maybe we should actually consider him. It's like,
I'm like,
dude,
what
do people stand for?
Bill Mitchell comes out. He sends out dude, this dude has always pissed me off, dude. Let me go to his Twitter.
He's the ultimate grifter.
He's the ultimate grifter. He's the guy. Did you guys hear? So he raised all of this money. He's raising all this money so he can move to DC. And open a Your Voice thing, and so he raises $14,000, and then literally he's like, new penthouse in Miami.
No way.
Yeah, dude, did you see about that? Oh god, it was horrible, dude. I was getting ready to post it, but let me go to Bill Mitchell's page just so I can read off these tweets, because I want you to listen to the way he's defending the red flag laws. And tell me this, because, hey, by the way, if you support red flag laws in any way, shape, or form, you don't support the Second Amendment. You're anti-Second Amendment. You cannot support red flag laws and be pro-Second Amendment at the same time. It's impossible.
Skate guns, ask questions later.
Yeah, exactly. And so he goes, so he tweets this morning, Oh God, hold on a minute. I gotta go down to it. Okay, he tweets like 75,000 times a day. Is one of these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
just
mentioned everyone just being tribalistic and jumping on Trump's side with this.
So
a lot of people are putting the Republican Party before their own beliefs, and that kind of shows that.
And like, what's the point?
Well, not only that, but they're putting Trump before the conservative movement and before their own beliefs. But so he tweets first. He goes, "Bill Mitchell 100% supports President Trump on gun control. That makes Bill," and then it's like a poll, anti-Second Amendment, a leftist, a traitor, a Trump supporter. I voted fucking anti-Second Amendment because that's what it is. It doesn't make you a Trump supporter. It makes you... That'd be like, Bill Mitchell supports Hitler on killing Jews. What does that make Bill Mitchell? Anti-Semitic or a Hitler supporter? It's like clearly anti-Semitic. Like if you support gun control, you're anti-gun. Like it doesn't matter who's pushing for it, you know what I mean?
Hey, guys. Sorry.
And then he sends out this tweet, and he goes, this is the one I put on my story, and I was like, just loser. He goes, "Let's be real, folks. When the Second Amendment was written, arms meant single-shot muskets, which took 2 minutes to reload. We need modern laws for modern weapons. I believe red flag legislation is a reasonable middle ground which protects our rights as well as our lives." And he sent out a bunch of other stuff as well, but it's like, dude... So does that mean that computers don't, like, typing on the internet isn't free speech? Because you're literally in it 7 tweets later talking about shadow banning. Like,
sir, that was the modern technology of that day. That was part of that. They saw it.
And it was equal to what the British government had. It was equal force. The people had that same gun as the government.
Yeah.
And so we're still in a place where the government's still advancing their weapons, and the people all of a sudden can't.
At what point did it happen where like the government just like it was like we're on kind of an level playing field? Like, oh, we got a cannon, I got a cannon, I got a musket, you got a musket, and then at some point the government was like, I got a fucking nuke, and then I have my AR-15, I can't even have a 10-round magazine. Like.
That's what it was. Once the government had the nukes, they had the power to do anything they wanted.
The nukes, it's like the tanks, it's like the technology has gotten so advanced. Even if, like, we don't even have near, and this whole idea that the United States, like, the citizens could somehow, like, overthrow the government with their second, like, that's just insane. Like, we could never do that. They could just bomb the shit out of it.
Actually, I don't think that's insane.
You don't think it's insane? Let's have a discussion.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's insane at all. I think if we look at the numbers, we have majority of our military is obviously conservative leaning, but not only that. If let's say if there were, this is all hypothetical, but this is just if there were something to happen, I personally believe that the military would probably split up. I mean, who's to say that the military would just be a bunch of leftists all of a sudden?
And who's to say that the military would start killing civilians?
Well, here's how I think it's going to go. Here's how I think it's going to go.
No, I'm good. I'm not going to do that, actually.
Here's my thought process. If something objectively bad happens, like something that's going to lead to a civil war, or civil unrest where a majority of the citizens are outraged, then possibly. But I think what's more likely to happen is you're going to have some set of circumstances where like 10,000 people get pissed and start to protest against the government. That's where nobody stands a chance. Like if you really want to, you need a significant movement, because if you have like 10,000 people, then they're just going to be like, oh, you know.
Well, I mean, that's a good segue to go into talking about Hong Kong. And there's a lot of you know, it's not. I used to think just Democrats that in order to be in the Democrat Party, you had to be a hypocrite. Like there was a test. Okay, do you have the opposite stance on this issue as this issue? Because if you do, then you can join the party. But now I realized it's just all politicians, because you'll have Dan Crenshaw who's leading the charge of the red flag laws, and he's voicing his support for the people of Hong Kong. Well, you know, your red flag laws, these people who are breaking the law by protesting would have their guns taken away, and they couldn't be able to fight against the government. Yeah. So it's like, this is so stupid. If the government controls the red flag laws, okay, well, you're a threat to us. We're taking away your guns. Like, it's so dumb. And then you have Hillary Clinton is voicing her support for the people of Hong Kong. And
this is all virtue signaling.
It all is, but it's like we're not going to arm them. And it's like whenever there's countries around like Libya, you know, go back to Obama and Hillary.
Yeah.
They armed Libya to overthrow Gaddafi, but they're pushing for banning assault weapons here. But they gave them assault weapons to overthrow their government. Yeah. It's like it shows the purpose of the gun is to protect you from the government.
Well, absolutely, and it's like what's going. And you're the Hong Kong guy.
Yeah,
Steve's been the Hong Kong guy, so he knows exactly what's going on in Hong Kong. And he actually on the last episode, if you guys want to check it out, kind of went in depth as to like why the Chinese it doesn't really matter if the Chinese control Hong Kong or not at this point.
That's good stuff.
But I actually watched Steve Bannon came out and made like a really interesting video. Base Steve Bannon made a really interesting video on why it was so important that the Chinese stop what's going on in Hong Kong for China, not for anybody else, but for China. And he said, and this is something that's just so true, the freedom in Hong Kong is eventually going to bleed out into mainland China.
Yes.
Like, it's just because it's so, like, freedom is so, I'm trying to think of the word. I don't want to say viral because it's just associated with
contagious.
Contagious, yeah, contagious. Like, I mean, even when you're growing up and you're like, you have that one friend who moved out like super young and they're like, oh, I'm throwing like fucking fat ragers at mine. And you're like, oh, you know.
You want it hella bad.
You want it so bad. And that's happening in China. Like, you know that could easily bleed out and people start realizing, like, wait a minute. These people are living high on the hog and we're sitting here. We can't use Google. Like, we can use Google, but it's super censored.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that's going to go. And so I think.
Well, and it's a giant flex at Trump and the West. Like, hey, you know, our people in this Western-style city of Hong Kong are acting up. We're going to go take it over and implement communism, and you're not going to do shit about it because we run the world now. And it's going to happen. I think we're not going to do anything about it. So they're going to do something. So they're going to invade. They know we're not going. We're so war-weary in this country. We're not going to. We hate being the world police now, and understandably so. So we're not going to go defend them, and if we don't, then China's just going to take over. That's just how it works. So they're going to take over. They have no reason to honor the agreement anymore. They don't need capitalism in Hong Kong because they're so rich in China now anyway. They don't need that capitalism there anymore. So they're just going to take over because why wouldn't they?
Well, so many people are going to die. That's the one thing. Is it's just like, and it's so funny because the people in China, they're singing the national anthem, they're raising the flag, all that, but they're only doing it to try to get us to come into war. Like,
they said that. I put out a video today that says that they said that is why they're doing it because they want the U.S. to get involved.
Yeah, they're not doing it like, oh, I want to be America. They're doing it because they're like, come fight with us.
Yeah,
which I don't want to get involved either. If China takes over Hong Kong like that, I personally I like that Hong Kong's free. I like freedom, and I want these people to be able to live freely. But it's no sweat off my back if Hong Kong gets taken over. Like, I really don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
we have more important issues to deal with, you know.
I guess the better way to say that is like, it does frustrate me because I used to live there. I'm more biased towards it, and like I really like the people there. Did I say
it was that bad?
No, nothing you said was bad, but I think a better way to say it. A better way to say it is like, you know, it's not worth killing yourself over because there's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why it's not worth. And by the way, that was even being ironic, but like, it's not worth like being all frustrated. Oh, we gotta do something because we're not going to do anything. And part of being a free thinker, I say this a lot, is understanding what's pragmatic and what's realistic, whether or not it goes in your ideology. Because, you know, a right-wing ideology is more freedom, more capitalism, but also being pragmatic is saying, you know what, China is very strong now. They're basically a fascist country, and we're not going to war with them over this. So almost don't even talk about it because what are we doing here? Let's solve problems in our own country because we can't really solve that. And it's unfortunate, but, you know, part of being a conservative is realizing this isn't a utopia on this planet. The left wants this weird Earth is a utopia thing, and the right understands the world's a pretty shitty place. Let's just make it a little bit less shitty. And the left thinks the world can be perfect, and right-wingers say we understand it can't be. So some things kind of just suck, and it's like, well, this just kind of sucks. But what are we going to do about it, you know?
There's really nothing. Yeah. I mean, what are we going to ship them weapons, get involved, like fight on their side? Like, there's just no point in doing that. And last week we talked about why we don't want to see a conflict between China. That would definitely create a conflict. Like, if we
oh yeah, worst case scenario, you're talking about tens of millions of people dying.
Oh dude, if China invades Hong Kong and then we go and defend Hong Kong, which there's really no incentive for us to do so. Like, I don't think we're
we don't gain from it. We're not an ally officially. Like, it's you know, Britain has more of a reason to. If Britain wanted to invade, they have legitimate cause to. Because China's violating their agreement of the 97 holdover. They promised capitalism for 50 years, and they're breaking it. So they have legitimate grievance to invade, but it still doesn't benefit them to do so either. Like, they don't make money from Hong Kong.
Okay, maybe you can educate me on this, Steve, because you're the Hong Kong guy. Why did Britain even hand it over? Like, why didn't they just keep it?
So during the Opium Wars back in the 1800s, their original agreement was set to expire that Britain was leasing Hong Kong from China for 150 years. Oh, okay. So they just honored the agreement to give it back to them. That's basically all it was. Basically, if they didn't, China would probably go to war about not giving it back to them. Yeah. So they just made an agreement to give it back to them under some terms that benefited Britain. That's because they kind of had to pretty much at that point.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was just like, why would they even hand it over? I didn't know about all that. So based in red pilled. Dude, wish my girl was as loyal as fucking Britain, dude. I need to get you a girl as loyal as Britain, bro. 150-year deal.
I do think, like, one thing that's worth talking about with the Hong Kong thing, though, is it directly just is a perfect example of how ironic it is that we're having this massive gun control debate in this country while pushing for freedom in Hong Kong. But the people of America are like, please, government, take our rights away. Please take our rights away to defend ourselves. We don't want them anymore. And out there's literally, I saw a poster of a Hong Kong poster saying, we need the Second Amendment. Like, they are saying that. And so it's like only in the West are we fighting to get our rights taken away. What is this? Do you guys have any theories of why the West likes giving away its rights?
What the thing is about our rights and them being taken away is it's not like violations of the Second Amendment. It's not like we're just getting rid of the Second Amendment. What's happening is there these small chiseling away of our rights over time, and people are like, oh, I don't care about bump stocks, I don't care about suppressors, I don't care about all these things, Reagan, I don't care about automatic weapons, whatever. And it's just over time these slow chiseling away, and then you look 30 years later, you have no rights left. You're like, what the hell happened to all my rights? It's like, well, you started giving them away slowly under the guise of safety and because you supported the candidate at the time that was doing it. That's why I'm so against these red flag laws, because you're giving now, not only are you taking our rights away, but you're also giving the government the ability to take guns away from you. Like, they can literally come and seize it. We had someone die in Maryland, and they're like, well, it's probably because he was getting violent. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. That's one instance on a statewide level. And now you want to make it national? Like, that's insane. Like, it's going to happen way more.
Yeah, the left seems to have the inability to, or anti-gunners, whatever you want to talk about here, seems to have the inability to kind of see into the future a little bit, and like just they like to get riled up past legislation because things are good in the now. Yeah. They for some reason are incapable of being like, oh, what's it going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 5 years.
Well, because conservatives are horrible. Free thinkers are the best at it. Leftists are the second best. This is a free thinker. I can recognize that. Conservatives are the worst. Conservatives only focus on defense. They're like, no. We have to protect. We have to protect. It's like the left is just coming.
Stop the left from taking away our rights. When has the right ever said, hey, we're taking away something from you guys now?
What are we going to take away? That's our problem. Is like, you can't take really anything away from the left, and you can't get rights back. Like, I can't think of any besides prohibition, which a free thinking follower of mine, I made this point. I was like, we never get rights back, and a free thinker came out and said prohibition. I was like, that was very free thinking, and I gave him the title of free thinker right after that. But no, it's just like, but you don't get your rights back. But conservatives are so focused on defense, and the left is coming at all different angles, and the right doesn't care about the culture. That's the thing as well. The right literally just dismisses the culture. They say culture is stupid. Everything that has to do with culture is degenerate. But politics is downstream from culture. So if your culture is sick, your politics becomes infected. And that's like a huge opening for the left to just take, like, you see all the trannies teaching kids how to twerk and the or transgender people
and that's why kids think, okay, this is normal. Yeah. And all of a sudden, when they're time to vote, they're going to vote for that kind of politician because they've been told for 20 years this is the best thing ever.
Exactly.
And so the right has no cultural influence.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why, I made a statement that went very viral on the show before Ann Coulter criticized me when Ashley St. Clair was on, where I said the immigration fight, it's over. And I said it's time to move on to something else. And what that means is this. I'll use immigration as an example. This thing should have been done 30, 40 years ago. But when you had Republicans like Reagan giving amnesty to illegals and turning California blue because of that, they were setting the tone that this is never going to be solved. I mean, the demographics caused by immigration, illegal and legal in this country, that mainstream studies show that over 70 or 80% of first-generation immigrants vote Democrat, whether they came here legally or not. And the Republican Party, mainly due to corporatism, because they want cheaper wages for employees, they want cheaper stuff, they've been duped to believe that all unlimited legal immigration is good. It's just the illegal one that's bad. Well, legal immigration, it's the same data. They come here, vote 70 to 80% Democrat, and then they vote for these Democrat politicians who push socialism and these ideologies, and it inevitably leads to the destruction of the Republican Party and conservative values. But the Republicans always playing on defense, like, oh, well, I don't want to be called racist, so I got to support the legal immigration. I can't have a free-thinking discussion and say, well, maybe America's full. Maybe our infrastructure can't handle it anymore. Maybe class sizes doubling isn't a good thing. Maybe that no one speaks the same language isn't a good thing.
Well,
maybe there's too much traffic on the roads.
Attacked by John Burke, so I don't.
Well, I feel like for the right, it's been kicking the can down the road and just looking at not being. Nobody wanted to face that scrutiny that Donald Trump was like, hell, like let's freaking face this. And then for the left, it's a win-win for them all day. I mean, that's awesome. They know it's a win, and that's why when it comes to this, when it comes to the actual border security debate, I mean, when we're looking at this, if you're looking at this just from an objective point of view, and you're saying, okay, why are you resisting more funding to protect the border from, you know, illegal guns, sex trafficking, drug trafficking? Like, why are you pushing?
Because they want the vote. It's simple.
It's because the end justifies the means.
Right.
They don't need to make sense at this very moment. They don't need to make any sense because it doesn't matter. That's not what they want. They want
power.
Yeah.
And they stick to what they want. They have their objective and they get what they want. And people say, oh, well, why don't they just make a compromise? It does not benefit the Democrats to compromise on illegal immigration.
No.
They gain nothing.
Well,
First of all, they'll upset their base. Second of all, they want the future voters. So why would they give anything on illegal immigration?
The thing that's the biggest mind boggle to me is the fact that their base doesn't see that they're just playing politics. They genuinely
okay, but like to be fair, the right does the same thing though.
About what?
Sure,
like about everything, dude. Like,
well, give me an example. Here's the Democrats, illegal immigration, realizing these downfalls are worth the sacrifice to get power in 10, 15 years. What's the example of the
big tech corporations?
That's left-wing stuff too.
No, that's right.
The left has
the right refuses to go after.
And how does that benefit them?
Because then they get to push this narrative of, oh, we're for the free market, we're for these big companies, this is great for us. Vote for us.
How does that benefit the Republican Party?
It does because it makes
what I'm saying is there's nothing Republican Party does that is willing to take a quote unquote black eye from the other side right now to push for the inevitable.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying.
That's like my example of the tech censorship would be, you know, the right wants. I mean, the libertarians don't, but your normal conservative says, hey, this censorship is a problem. There's really nothing worse off by saying, hey, you can't do this anymore. It's illegal. We're not worse off if that happens. It's the government involved. Okay, well, we're getting banned anyway. How are we worse off?
I thought you were saying if people, like, where does the right stick to their guns and refuse to go after, like, the left with their immigration?
What I'm saying is the ends justifying the means. So on the left, they have no reason to justify giving a law to ban censorship either, because in the future, that silences conservative voices and they win. So they understand. They think bigger than Republicans do.
They just about own every single irrational argument. I mean, we can talk about something as small as voter ID laws for voting. They're pushing against that, and their base. You know, I'll talk to people on the street. I'll talk to people on the street that think that's a racist thing because they've been told it's a racist thing, and you're looking at them like, how on earth did you get convinced that the average American is stupid enough not to be able to get an ID? And poor enough not to get an ID. That level of poverty doesn't exist in the United States.
No, it literally doesn't. Like,
and here's the
not only that, they want you to have.
Is the government just? I don't think the government should require you to have anything that it charges you for, even a driver's license. Why is that not just taxpayer funded? If they require me to have a license, they should just provide that to you. So here's a solution for that.
Like a license.
California makes so much money on that.
If it's like, here, you know what? If you need to have a license to vote, we're going to provide them to you. They cost us $3 to make in China, and there you go. There it ends the debate. But Republicans don't offer solutions to actually get things done. They say, well, we need voter ID. And they'll say it's racist as it targets poor people. Fuck. Okay, well, then they don't know what to say. It's like, well okay, how about...
Like you said, they're always on the defense.
I'm down to raise taxes.
It could be
$1 billion tax increase. It's like $5 a person, and now you get a free ID. There you go. There's a solution for you
Here's the thing about it is, like, it's been shown in studies, which I don't have in front of me, but I've seen in studies, if you start requiring people to add another step to voting, like voter ID or something like that, they're less likely to vote.
It'll drop.
And the lower income people are the less likely people to do it. And guess who low income people vote for? It's the Democrat Party. So the Democrats are trying to get as many people out as possible.
Right, yeah,
They're
it's
trying
the same thing.
to simplify the voting
strategic,
process by saying just bring everybody in. The right is saying, no, let's add a bunch of steps so we can get like our middle class, redneck, whatever people out there to vote because they'll still vote. But then like the minorities and those people, like the poor people, won't vote.
Yeah, and that's the truth. But the reality is, the Republican Party needs to figure out a better way of branding, of saying, hey, you have to literally show an ID for everything in this country. Why is not the most important right, the right to vote and choose our own leadership? Why do you not have to prove who you are to do that? and they can't figure out a way to sell to the public. That's the right thing to do, because the left is just better at marketing. The left controls every institution of power. They played a game since the 60s and 50s of taking over this entire culture, and they won. And I don't want to be a pessimist, but there's no plan to stop that, so I don't see how it gets any better. They control the entire education system. They can control 90% of the media. They control all of big tech. They control Hollywood. They control the music industry. How are you going to stop? How are you going to fight that? What, some old boomer politician or some old white guy's going to say change that? It's like, well, people are influenced by culture, like you said. The left controls the culture and all those institutions. They control HR departments everywhere, PR departments. You know, they have the whole the Gay Pride Month. Every company turns with the gay flag because they control HR departments. The right doesn't control anything, and you think that they're going to be able to win this culture war? It's impossible.
It's all about the culture, and the right just isn't funny.
I don't know how they did it. I haven't studied enough of how they did it.
No, I know how they did it.
I think it's something to do with the Soviet Union infiltrated this country. And they started planting things in the schools and stuff, and took over the communists. Basically, took over the Democrat Party. I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but
it's literally just that leftists are just funnier. Like every single comedian they vote Democrat. They're funny. They're entertaining. All these rappers, A$AP Rocky, even he never thanked Trump. Like they're all fucking Democrats. Kanye West just went manic and became Republican for a month, and now he's back. But it's all of these great entertainers are far leftist, and so because the right is so fucking boring because it's controlled by boomers. Even the funniest people on the right, like Steven Crowder, is only funny to people on the right. I can't think of one leftist that comes out and it's like, fuck yeah, Steven Crowder, buying tickets. Nobody on the left thinks Steven Crowder's funny. Nobody on the left thinks Ben Shapiro is entertaining to watch. The only people who think Ben Shapiro's entertaining are people that like Ben Shapiro. The only people that like Charlie Kirk are people that are conservatives. We don't have Eminem came out and just bashed Trump supporters, and my dumb ass is fucking bumping it still.
Right. Well, you know what it is? I mean, this part of it is when the biggest difference, I believe, between the left and the right in principle is the left is collectivist and the right cares about the individual. But we're playing a game that is team versus team. But when you have one team, that's okay. We're for the team. The team, at all costs, the team wins. And this team is I care more about myself than the team. You think you're going to win a team sport, but politics is a team sport at this point. And we just made fun of people for always kissing Trump's ass. But in reality, if you don't do that, your team will lose. So the right is inherently fucked.
Yes,
in this system.
I'm down for kissing Trump's ass if he's being a right winger. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I prefer the individual, but I also understand, back to what you guys were talking about previously, about being kind of a realist about things. Yeah. I don't want us to become the left. I don't want us to have all these radical, loud people on our side. But you know what? I mean, if that's what it takes to keep the Second Amendment or a couple things, I mean, we kind of got to go that direction.
And I'm down for kissing Trump's ass. I definitely was one of his biggest supporters, as long as he's not being a fucking liberal. And with his gun control stuff, why would I kiss somebody's ass who's just promoting leftist policies?
Well, yeah, the thing is,
the left is just winning.
The left, whenever they do any policy decision, they never give a shit what the right's going to feel about it. If the right wanted to win and really get I'll use the collectivist term loosely, but the collectivist benefits that the left gets from being in group step, then they would need to be all right-wing positions. And we'd be okay, yeah, we're going to be a right-wing party, we're going to fight for right-wing ideology, and you're going to be the left-wing party, we're going to fight for it. But when the left is only left-wing ideology and the right is mostly right, but then sometimes left, well, then you're gonna lose the base. You're gonna what's the point of even voting for you? And you're going to inherently lose. But because the right isn't collectivist, that is essentially impossible.
Yeah.
The only time you have far-right collectivism is fascism, pretty much. And, I mean, this whole country, rightfully so, demonizes fascism. Went to war with fascism. But, everyone wants to say Hitler was a leftist, whatever. Hitler was a leftist, whatever it was. But, I mean, you can call fascism a right-wing ideology in some aspects. I mean, white supremacists aren't on the left. So, I mean, they're on the right. More white supremacists support Trump than they support Hillary. So, I mean, it doesn't mean Trump's a white supremacist. But what I'm saying is definitely more people who identify as these crazy things like Nazis and whatever are going to be in favor of a right-wing candidate. And that's what the far right looks like, is white supremacy. The far left is far communism and Soviet Russia socialism. Yeah. Somehow in our country, the far right fascism Hitler stuff is looked on as a million times worse than the Stalinist, Maoist, Castro regimes who killed more people than Hitler. But because it wasn't quote unquote race based, our country is so sensitive about race that even though they killed more people, because Hitler did it in the name of race, we can't talk about that one at all, and therefore Stalin isn't as bad. So it's
So
the right is kind of fucked.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, if we're looking at that whole communist belief system that's on the left, that's a way bigger number than what you're dealing with on the far right. What you're doing with what's the KKK right now? I think 5,000 members strong. Maybe we have 330 million people in this country.
Yep.
Well, the KKK,
but
racism,
that's
like
the
thing is like if you look at the radicals, and this is free thinking. If you look at the radicals on either side, the radicals on the far right are way less in numbers than the radicals on the far left. Like there are way more socialist, communist, like by definition communists on the left than there are white supremacists and Nazis on the right. Like there's a very small minority of the right that's actually like down with Nazism and fascism, and there's a massive group of people who literally support Bernie Sanders and socialist policies. And Vladimir Lenin said that the goal of socialism is communism, and these people just don't. They're like, no, it's democratic socialism. It's like, no, it's democratic socialism, but you can't stop.
They're going to vote you into power. Then you're going to suspend the right to vote. Like that's what they always do.
It's not like there's literally no sign ever in the history of humanity and governments where the people just say, all right, that's enough free stuff. We're done now. We're all good.
Right.
Like, it's just like more and more. Like now Steve is even talking to your fucking socialist. Steve is saying, give us free IDs. Like it's just
free government IDs.
But like you never, it just never ends. Like it just keeps getting free stuff. So eventually you're going to move into communism. You're going to move into like literally the government just controls everything. The government provides everything for the people. Yeah. And that's just what it turns into. Your rights get diminished when the government controls everything. Your rights become diminished. I don't see any plus side.
I have a free question for both of you guys, and this might be the most anti-American, anti-patriotic, anti-democrat thing I ever said. But I'm just asking a question because it's interesting. So, you have communist China, which is arguably the only country that implemented communism has actually been quote unquote successful. And I mean successful as that country is powerful. It's actually, a lot of people are wealthy. Not everyone's starving. You know, there's more middle class there than the entire country of the United States. So it's working for some people with the way they're doing it right now. I would argue that this new system that China runs, because it restricts all civil liberties, but it's essentially economically capitalist. It's just the government sponsors the capitalism. They pick and choose the winners and losers, but the government doesn't run most of the businesses. They just put money into them, they invest in them and grow them, but it's basically capitalism. So it's state-sponsored capitalism, which is fascism. They are essentially now a fascist country. No civil liberties and state-sponsored capitalism, which was what the Nazis did. And it looks like, because they're not white supremacists, they're just a bunch of Asian people that don't do stuff in the name of race. We don't really look that bad at it. All we care about is about racism, not what you're actually doing. So because there are a bunch of Asians doing basically Nazi-style fascism, no one cares, and we do business with them. Like every American company has a presence in China now. We help grow their economy, even though they're oppressing their own people. We give them so much money, and it looks like it's working, and it continues to grow. And now they're going to take over Hong Kong. We're not going to do anything about it, and they're taking over the world slowly with their influence. Going into the future, because I think America's in a post-moral society, and I think democracy needs morality to work out.
100%.
Is this Chinese fascist model that's not based on race, it's just economic fascism with no civil rights? Is that model going to take over the world? Is that really the only way to survive in the future? Because in democracy, everyone's going to vote to take away their money from the rich people and just take it all away, and we're going to crumble over time. China's like, nope, we're not going to do that. Sorry, we don't really care about any of your rights. We're going to do what's best for the country, and it's kind of working. It's kind of scary, but it looks like it's working to me over there. So
I will say this:
they're at different states in their growth for the country.
You're right.
So they're kind of where we were. I don't know if saying after World War I is accurate, but kind of that development, the whole industrial stage that we were at, after or during World War II. Like that's kind of where they're at right now. I'm not saying that they're not advanced, but that's really where their economy is at. They're still largely agrarian as well, and right. When it comes to where the U.S. is at, we're actually dealing with different issues. We've been there and done that.
But we're in late stage democracy right now. If you look at it, the democracy that we have in our country is going to crumble. Like people are way too wrapped up in entertainment and sports and what's going on with celebrities, and you can't sustain a government system when the people or that requires that the people be informed when the people don't care to be informed. You just can't do it because then the government just becomes too powerful because the people just
So do you think we're essentially going to become fascist here?
But no. Here's what I'll say. And I just want to answer this guy's question in the chat really quick because he's asked me like 40 times. Which side do I think is better? I am a free thinker. I am conservative.
You can't say that. Free thinkers can't be conservative.
Fiscally, I was about to say fiscally. I'm
no, you can't even have an ideology on anything. You have to just be objective on everything. Yeah, that's what it is.
Objectively, conservative economic policies are better than leftist economic policies.
Well, you're our friend of the show, so you're an honorary free thinker during this time. But when you go back and be a conservative, then you're just conservative.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, as a free thinker, I can say objectively, conservative policies are better for the economy than leftist policies, like excessive spending.
How do you define conservative policies? Because I've never seen a conservative economic policy in my entire life. The government just
but that's exactly we've never seen it, but it would work. Like saving money.
Reducing the corporate tax rate would be
reducing regulation on businesses.
Reducing the corporate tax rate and just borrowing more money to fill out the deficit you lost in taxes. Yeah, so that's what we do here. It's like real offset spending cuts. So it's like you might as well just tax more people.
But I think ideally, if we were to, this is just objective. If we're going to solve our economic problems, and I want to get back into what we were saying because I have a really free thinking point and to answer Steve's question. Yeah, but I think if we're going to solve the economic crisis, you're going to have to raise taxes on the fucking super rich. Like Bernie Sanders has a point. The people at the very top, the tippity top, do not pay anything. Amazon, Netflix, like these companies pay nothing in taxes. They need to start paying taxes. The problem is taxing the rich. It always ends up being like the upper middle class who gets fucked. Like the average.
Perhaps you want to simplify the taxes. Yeah.
So I think you need to simplify the taxes, get rid of the loopholes.
Yeah.
And then we need to, and like getting rid of the business loophole, like it makes sense. Like I get it. It can be abused where it's like you just take someone out to dinner in 5 minutes. You're like, oh, but like, okay, $30 a month, you take someone out for a business dinner, okay. But we need to start taxing the actual rich people that are paying nothing. We need to lower taxes on the middle class because we want the middle class to be strong. Because when you start letting the rich get away with nothing and then taxing the middle class, you're just making the middle class more poor because they're not making as much money. They're having less
and then people want socialism.
Yeah, they're having
more
less
poor
than the middle class. And by the way, it's been proven, like whatever class bracket you're born in, you're going to stay in the rest of your life. So if you're super rich when you're born, you're going to stay super rich. If you're middle class, you're going to be middle class. If you're poor, you're going to be poor. Poor people are having way more kids. Middle class, because of the excessive taxes and because of the regulation and businesses getting stomped on by the government, they're having less children. So
how's this for a free thinking argument that middle class people, say middle class married people, because the middle class person has more ambitions than and I don't want to disparage poor people, but say they have more opportunities plus ambitions than a poor person.
Okay,
so
Biden,
like
God.
Well, no, it's like as a free thinker, there's no point just to be like an asshole all the time. So it's like maybe more clear for what I say.
No, I was kidding. Like, it was
yeah.
Okay,
I know, but still, like I'm trying to work on that kind of stuff. I used to just be a radical. You're a fucking stupid libtard. It's like I'm trying to be more careful with my words now, just because. So like a poor person, because the system they're born in isn't going to be as motivated because they don't know any better to be more educated. So you have someone who's middle class and they go to college. That's what they're trained to do from their parents or whatever, and they have the opportunities to do it. Well, middle class people, and particularly women now in this new modern economy, there's equal women in the workplace, which is fine. But women are now putting a premium over having kids at a younger age, and because they're trying to advance in the workplace. So they're going to delay having kids till they're in their mid-late 30s, then they can only have one kid. Whereas poor people aren't doing that. They have no reason to delay having the kids because their job is a regular deadbeat job anyway. You might as well have the kid now, and then they have more kids. I think that's a big thing of why the middle class isn't having kids.
And they get more welfare. You get more welfare for having more kids.
Yeah.
Well, that some states don't allow that. I mean, California stopped allowing that. But yeah, I mean, I think a big reason of why the middle class isn't having kids is because women need to work hard to advance in the corporate ladder, and so they put off having kids for that. And all of a sudden, they just don't have any kids. They show up in their career, and that's like a major problem of society. Not saying it's a problem that women work in the workplace, but it's a consequence of that. I believe.
I think it's a problem.
It's a consequence.
Here's what's a problem. Yeah. Here's what's a problem. It's not a problem that women are ambitious and want to work. It's a problem that women who decide to stay at home and have kids are shamed by society. That's the problem, because now you're pushing people who may want to have kids and who are going to end up being very unhappy in life.
You're some stupid stay-at-home mom. It's like
we need to realize that being a stay-at-home mom and having children I'm not gonna say it's the hardest job in the world, because it's not. Like, I can definitely think of harder jobs than staying at home with kids, but it is probably one of the most important jobs
and valuable.
Raising, which, by the way, as Yang says, the market values that at nothing. That's Yang's favorite thing to say.
Yeah,
As an autistic kid, and they value it at nothing. It's Yang's favorite thing to say. I love how I watched an interview with him when he first announced his presidency. He's like, and I hate saying this, but I do have an autistic kid at home, and then like every 5 minutes now, it's like, now my autistic child. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, that's the thing is, like, anyway, think about Yang.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go. But anyway, I think we need to start incentivizing, and the right could do a better job of this. And we don't, like Gavin McInnes when he's just sitting on Fox News when he got kicked off, or just saying, no, you're unhappy because you don't have kids. Like, that's not what we need to do. We just need to start pushing this narrative to counter the feminist narrative of go work or else you're going to be at home and you're just.
Well, the biggest lie of the conservative movement is people always act like conservatives are all about family values and taking care of your family, but in reality, the conservative movement just became the pro-corporation movement and just get massive corporate capitalist profits, and that inherently disincentivizes having kids because it costs you too much money and time away from your job. So like I said, women are having less kids to work in the workplace, and that kind of destroyed the family value system to where now you need the state to take over with daycare and stuff because you can't raise your own kids. It's like conservatives kind of fought for two different things: massive corporate profits and being a slave to the corporate system, and then family values, but those are incompatible with each other. We always talk about the 1950s. Oh, let's go back to the 1950s, like minus the racism, but 1950s way of lifestyle. Well, that wasn't big corporations running everything.
The racism wasn't even that bad. Like, it wasn't even that bad in the 1950s. Like, if you watch shows from back then, like, they had hella black people all over the place. Like, they'd have them in the thing. Like,
they always clowned on them like there was some stooge. You watch these shows.
No, dude, I was literally, I watch old shows all the time. I just love to watch them.
You ever see, like, old, like, what's that kid show? Little Rascals? They make the black kids look stupid in that show, bro. They were pretty bad.
I was straight up watching, I was watching the Dick Van Dyke Show the other night. I'm just sitting there watching it. And, dude, if you go on Amazon Prime Video, there's hella old shows. I'm just, like, binge watching them. And they had, like, some classroom, and it was, like, there were a ton of black people. Of course, they were sitting at the back. But, like, they had, I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
Yeah, jeez.
I'm kidding. Comedy show. But they had a ton of black people. Like, I feel like the left pushes this narrative, and they try to make, like, racism across the board seem so recent. That and obviously segregation was horrible, but even back when segregation was prevalent, like, I guarantee you the majority of people weren't racist. Like even now, like, a very small portion of people are racist.
Well, I think there's becoming more and more now, and this is one thing.
I don't think so. I think the media is pushing than making.
I think the racists are becoming more radicalized to do violent things.
They can be a little guys, but if you guys look at the numbers of hate crimes, we're averaging right around 6,000 to 7,000 hate crimes annually in the United States. Obviously, 330 million people. That's not that many. We do have a slight increase right now, but now
what's classified as a hate crime? Do you know?
A crime. I would have to look. The victim was specifically targeted for their race, gender, religion,
okay.
Specifically for that reason only.
Yeah.
Like the El Paso shooting.
But white people died, didn't they?
Yeah, but he targeted it because he wanted to kill Hispanics.
But that was what his manifesto.
Just because he's a bad shot doesn't mean that
there's no evidence that that was his manifesto. So it's like I mean, the government.
So someone else just uploaded something 2 hours before he did the same thing that was talked about in the manifesto.
They could be. Who knows, dude? Who knows?
Well, we'll find out.
I don't trust any of that shit.
But disregarding the manifesto. He allegedly told the FBI, I went to go kill Hispanics. Like, he told them that in his test. He's not dead. He's alive. And he said, I went to go kill Hispanics.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that himself. So,
then it was a hate crime. Which is, I'm not trying to defend it as something that's not a hate crime. If it's a hate crime, it's a fucking hate crime.
It seems like it's more of a hate crime. It seems it's a hate crime. But he did announce that I think he said that he's not a Trump supporter.
Yeah, he said he's gonna spin it. Yeah.
He said this has nothing to do with Trump. I had these beliefs before Trump, and then they come out and they blame Trump, and he said this has nothing to do with Trump. And this idea that oh my God, there was no racist or white nationalists in this country until Trump came. All of a sudden, these became white nationalists. It's like these people they existed. Like, what do you mean? Like what's his name? Dylan Roof in 2016 killed the black church. That's before Trump was president. Like, it has nothing to do with Trump. People, and the thing is, the white supremacists, the white nationalists, they hate Trump because he's so pro-Israel. They don't like Trump. They think he's too not white supremacist.
Of course.
So it's like, they always want to call Trump a white supremacist. Like the actual white supremacists, like David Duke, are now endorsing like Ilhan Omar because she hates Jews the most. So it's like it's
well, yeah, a lot of those white supremacists, they're not even. I don't want to really call Trump a conservative, but they're not even really conservatives.
No, they're not. They don't like. They're alt right.
Yeah.
Like they'll openly say, I'm alternative right. Like I'm not a conservative. They actually hate conservatives. They think they're cringe. Like they're not.
Yeah.
They're not down with the.
they're just
not
white
down
nationalists.
With
That's all they care about is white nationalists.
Yeah,
nothing
dude.
else
If you
matters.
talk to most of them, they hate the conservative organizations. They don't like any of the stuff that the conservatives say. They're literally alt right. They're mostly fascist.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And I do think fascism is more right wing than it is left wing. I just think, but also going back to what you were saying before, because I just thought of this. You were saying that the left is really good at branding the right, and the right isn't very good at branding the left. Maybe it's because, like, and I just noticed this. Maybe it's because.
Will it?
I think. It better.
We only have a minute or two left for anyway,
Yeah,
right?
but I was in the middle of a free thinking point, dude.
I know.
I was so free thinking. It's
it.
definitely
You
went
were
down. Dude.
you were quite literally up here at the peak.
Yeah.
I was up here at the peak of my free thinking, and then
The censorship, dude.
Dude, it is. I was getting.
This is too much free thinking. I take it down.
But I was getting ready to like, Oh, well, let's play it safe with what we say because it might still be. No, it definitely restarted.
Really?
I'm gonna wrap the show.